And welcome to week 3 of my mentoring program. I really do hope you're enjoying the program so far. Please let me know if there's anything that you need from me as you've sort of completed your journey. So the first 2 weeks, we looked at developing your personal development plan, sort of looking at where you are, where you'd like to be, and sort of planning out how you're going to get there. Last week, we looked at a way of coaching. We looked at the constraint-led approach and how that's going to help you hopefully develop more and better players, which is hopefully going to build up your program. Today, week 3, we're going to look at probably one of the most important ones as well. And I'll keep saying that each week because I think all 12 of these modules are vital for club development or coach development or business development. But the partnership with parents. Now, tennis parents sometimes get a bad rep in terms of pushy parents. They're a bit scary, but they're absolutely vital, especially if you're working with the probably under 14 age group. Generally, when they get sort of 15, 16, they start to become a bit more independent, sometimes a little bit earlier. And we have to understand that parents are the investors. They will put up the money for all the coaching that their sort of sons or daughters are going to conduct with you. It's really important that we get them on side, and a lot of coaches break down and sort of fall down on this because they just don't engage the parents enough. They sort of keep them at arm's length. They don't want to get them involved, and it never works. And that's why I think the title here of the workshop today is the power of partnership, because I think to me it's a triangle of trust, I call it. You got the player, you got the coach, and you got the parents, and all three have to work together. And I said in that under 14 sort of landscape, we can't go forwards and not include the parents. We can't keep the parents off the court. We can't not communicate with the parents. So hopefully you find this webinar informative. So I'm really struggling today, my throat. I've been away this week and then I've been back coaching. I'm really struggling my throat today, so I do apologize if I sound a little bit husky and a bit croaky. So what we look at today, the parents play such a crucial role in any program that involves children, whether it be a tennis program or a primary school or a secondary school or high school, gymnastics, football team. Parents are absolutely huge. And we're going to look at sort of the role they play today and how we can work best with them. Because again, I said before in the introduction, I think sometimes we try and shy away and sort of hide away from them. I know a lot of time in coach education when I'm doing the level 1 or level 2 and I'm working with younger coaches, they always say that they're really scared of the parents. They don't like engaging with the parents. They'll try and avoid the parents as much as they can. If the parents are sort of one gate, they'll try and go up the other gate to try and avoid them. First and foremost, parents aren't that scary. Some of them maybe. But once you get to know them, it's really important that we get them on board. So why is the partnership with parents so important? Parents, the first and most important educators of the children. So we have to understand that the parents, generally speaking, are the role models for these kids. They're the people that the kids love the most, generally. Again, it depends on family circumstances and stuff. Some kids may grow up with grandparents or grow up with other family members, again, but they're still guardians. So when we talk about parents today, we're looking after we're mainly talking about the guardian of that child, whatever their family circumstances may be. And we have to understand that these kids will hang on their every word in most parts. And if you ever speak to any player and you say to them, okay, who's the most important person in your life? And they say mum or dad or nan, granddad or auntie or uncle, all they want to do is make them proud, especially if they're the one sort of bringing them to tennis and investing in their tennis. That's all they want, the players. They just want to make them proud. They want that praise and that love and sort of feed and that positive feedback. No matter how big our egos are and we think we're the most important person in that player's life, we're not. The parents are. So we just got to be careful what we say around parents. And again, I think sometimes coaches say, "Oh, don't listen to mum or dad. They don't know what they're talking about. I'm the coach," and that's quite damaging at times. So we'll sort of look at that today, but we do have to understand that these are the most important people in these kids' lives. by working with these parents, it really strengthens trust and confidence in the program. And I think one of the biggest issues we have, especially in the UK here, is players being poached and moving on. That won't happen if the parent trusts you and has confidence in you. The parent will only move on if there's either little trust or lack of trust, or they don't have confidence in you. They don't have confidence that you're going to take the child on to the next level. So I'm always interested when coaches say to me, "Oh, my players have been poached," and I say, "Well, what did you like really build that relationship with the parents and stuff?" Because if the parent trusts you and they've got confidence in you and they believe that you're taking that player on the right path, then it's very unlikely. I'm not saying it won't happen, but it's very unlikely that that will happen. It also promotes a sense of shared responsibility in the child's development and well-being. So it is a shared role. Again, you will have a part to play in this, and sometimes you can get the parents to have some tough conversations with those players. You can get the parents to sort of get feedback that maybe you won't get fed back as well, especially maybe driving home from tournaments where players are sort of still quite raw. They'll give a lot of feedback to the parents at that point as well. So that's good for you. And I mentioned before about sort of keeping the parents at arm's length. You want the parents to be your eyes and ears because they're going to give you lots of feedback on the player, and they're going to give you lots of information that you're not going to see or feel. I think the parents will know the players more than you will, because you might see them once, two, three times a week. The parents live with the player day in, day out. And they're going to give you lots of information that the player won't give you. So it is a shared responsibility. And we've got to let these players participate in, I say the child's education. Guess what it is? It's tennis education. We have to let them have a role for all the reasons we just talked about above. Again, because if a parent wants to sort of take their child on court in between sessions, again, a lot of coaches here in the UK don't like that, and they say, no, leave it to me, you're doing more harm than good. No, they're not, because if you educate them properly, they can help develop the player outside of lessons. The player's getting more court time. They're not paying as much money because they'll just probably pay for the course or the club membership. If you arm that parent with lots of information in terms of drills and activities they can do, and if you educate them in terms of what to say and what not to say, that's only going to help their development. So again, this is a partnership that I think is really key in any player or club development program. And again, if the parents get involved, they can really improve not only the academic achievement there, but the social, emotional development and well-being. So because if the parents and player have a really happy relationship, then the player is not only going to thrive on a tennis court, they're going to thrive in school, and that's why I put the academic there as well, because they're going to be closer. And that's good for the player. And I think sometimes we always have to think player first. And that's what we want to do. We really want to look after the players' welfare. So building trust and communication. This is really quite a key one for me, because like I said before, if the parents trust you, then it just makes life so much easier. And how do we build that trust? And it's that communication. Trust is essential. Like, I would only work for a tennis club or a head coach or a tennis center if I trust and I sort of trust him. I've always moved on from clubs or coaches when I've lost that trust. And it's the same with parents. If parents lose that trust, they're either going to take their players elsewhere or they're going to stop having lessons with you altogether. And it's no different. I think if you think about, I don't know, if you think about your favorite restaurants, if you go there and have a bad experience a couple of times in a row and you start losing that trust, you're never going to go back there again. And it's the same with your tennis lessons as well. So trust is sort of the first thing we need to build. And this will come down to the open lines of communication. Parents only ever want two things, I think, for me, for their player. Number one is them to be happy and safe. That's number one. So they want to bring them to your tennis lessons so the kid enjoys it and it's a safe environment. So by safe, I don't mean sort of getting injured or anything like that, but safe in terms of their their mental well-being. So they're sort of confident, and they're committed, and they are in a safe space. They're not going there worried. They're not going to go there and they're sort of scared of making mistakes. So they want their children to be happy, but also they want to know progress. So they want to know, is that money I'm investing in you as the coach, is that being well spent? And parents won't know. Parents won't know what progress looks like. And I think it's really important that we open those lines of communication. So one thing that I always establish in my clubs when I'm a head coach is we have a 5-minute rule. So at the end of every session, we finish 5 minutes early. And I say to the parents, that's the time to come on court and I'll give you some feedback. I'll give you some feedback on how the players did. And I would generally do it with the players there as well. So I say, okay, Steve was really good today because he listened and he was really committed to the drills. The other Steve was absolutely amazing because he really worked hard today. He found it challenging, but he never gave up. So I would do it in front of the players, but I'd do it in the earshot of the parents as well. So the parents are getting feedback on what the players are working on. I wouldn't openly give any negative feedback out in that scenario. But let's say little Steve has had a bad session. I may then go across to mum and say, okay, Steve struggled today. He really struggled to listen. Is anything I need to be aware of? And mum might say, yeah, he's had a tough time at school over the last couple of days, or we were away all weekend. You got back late last night. And I'm just taking an interest. And notice how I phrased that. I'm not going across saying, oh, Steve was a nightmare today. He just didn't listen. It just wasn't good enough. I was highlighting, okay, Steve struggled a little bit with his listening today. Is there anything I need to be aware of? Because again, I'm trying to get that information from the parents. And I think parents respect that quite a lot, because you're taking an interest in the player outside of the court. You're not just sort of having a snapshot of what the player's doing there and then. You're looking at the person. You're trying to get more information about their private life. And that 5 minutes is absolutely golden. It's a short, sharp snapshot and saying, yeah, they're working hard, they're making progress. Your money is being well invested. And what I say to parents, if you need more individual feedback, then speak to me, book a consultation, book a meeting or a Zoom call or a phone call, and we can go into more sort of detail. But just the 5 minutes at the end of every session. And I think if you make that a rule, that's really important, because what a lot of coaches tend to say to me at this point is, oh, I haven't got time. I've got a under-8 session, then I've got an under-9 session. I haven't got time. Because what happens is I end the session at the hour, then the next session starts, and I'm still talking to parents when the next players are sort of trying to warm up. It's just too much. That 5-minute rule is great, because then you've got a 5-minute buffer there, and 5 minutes is a long time. So you've got 5 minutes there to communicate with the parents. Then you stop on the hour. You don't roll into the next lesson. If parents are still asking you questions, say, really, really sorry, I need to start my next session. How about I give you a call tomorrow, or give you a call later on this evening? And the parents are normally quite happy with that, because they know that the next session's on it, and they know that it wouldn't be great for their players if you were still there talking to the previous set of parents. So just a simple thing like, come on, the last 5 minutes, honestly, it just builds so much trust, and then the parents feel like you're invested and so you're giving them feedback. It's really important as well that you ask the parents to feedback and share information as well. And that's what I said before about that sort of 5-minute chat at the end of someone struggling. Is there anything I need to be aware of? Because they will sort of feedback to you as well. And I think it's important, go back on the lines of communication, that we give regular reports as well. So we should do like a report card every 6 weeks or every 12 weeks to say, this is what we're working on. We're working on trading from the back over this term, and Steve has performed really well in these areas, and Steve needs to develop these areas. It's just that little, okay, this is what you've paid your money for. This is what you're working on. And sort of this is how Steve's progressing. And it boggles my mind how many clubs still don't use that type of thing. and they say, oh, it takes too much time, and it's really monotonous in terms of doing the same thing over and over again. It doesn't have to take time. You could literally just have a working on both back, 1 being work needed, 5 being excellent, and you just circle it for each player, and it would literally take you a couple of minutes. Yes, it takes a bit of time. And coach says to me, yeah, but I'm not getting paid for that. Yes, you are, because if you're committed and building that trust, these parents will stay with you longer. Therefore, you're going to get more money in the long term. I think sometimes as coaches, we just think so short term. And the great thing about technology, there's loads of apps and stuff out there now that you can run your program with, where you can put in some information each day. And I think about my wife's business. So my wife works in childcare, so she runs a preschool or a nursery or a creche, depending on which part of the world you're in. And every single day, she's filling in observations of the kids and sort of what they're doing well, what they enjoyed, and that goes onto an app, and the parents can go on, and the parents can look at pictures and stuff of the day, and it just builds so much trust. But it has to be 2 ways as well. And I sort of put in there, try and encourage the parents to share their thoughts and concerns, because it's a 2-way thing. And again, one thing that I try and do is I always give the parents like a questionnaire at the end of the term. How did the coach do? Is there anything that you want more of? Is there anything that you're worried about? Is there anything that you really, really like and want more of? And I always try and sit down with my parents every 12 weeks at least, and just discuss the 12-week player program that we've gone through, and what's coming up and what's going well, and sort of what we need to work on. But I need that feedback from the parents as well. And especially if I can't get to a tournament. So if I can't get to a tournament, I know the parent's going to be there. So I'll say to the parents what I want them to watch for. So as always, I'll say, don't focus on the result. Okay, it's not about the outcome. It's about the process. This is what we're working on. We're working on Steve coming more into the net. So can you really watch that? And even if you could you match chart how many times Steve came in, how many times he was successful, and sort of how many times he wasn't successful, and then feed that back to me, please. And then the parent like goes, wow, okay, now I feel more involved. But it's really important that you set the processes and you feed back to the parents. Okay, this is what I want you to look for. Can you feedback this sort of that back to me? Because otherwise, if you don't have that open line of communication and you don't set that up before the tournament, what you tend to get back is, oh, Steve's got a rubbish backhand. Steve's backhand was shocking. And I'm stood there next to mum, as you're saying to me that my backhand's shocking. I'm thinking, my backhand's shocking. Next time I play a tournament. And parents will only ever see the negative, because again, it's a bit like some coaches. Parents think that a coach's job is just to fix all the errors, which is the complete opposite to what coaching's about. Coaching's about building confidence. But parents will just highlight the normally everything I did wrong. So what didn't go well, because they think that's a coach's job to improve mistakes. It's absolutely not. And then they'll give me the outcome. Steve got to semi-final. And then I normally get like an excuse, oh, but then he was tired by that point, or the wind changed, or the sun came out, or he fell over and hurt his knee, and they'll make an excuse. So by having that information ready to go and sort of saying to parents, this is what we're working on. Please, can you look at this for me? Wow, like the parent just feels empowered, and they will have a that shared responsibility, which is on the screen there. They'll feel like they're really, really part of it, because that's what most parents want to be. Some don't want to be a part of it, and some will just want to drop the kids off and then disappear and not get involved in it. But those parents who watch every practice session, those parents who go to every tournament, they want to be involved. They want to be involved in the journey. And I think sometimes as coaches that we stop them because we're scared of him, and we're thinking, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. They know more about the player than we do. They will see stuff in tournaments that I don't see. And that's vital. And it might be a case of, oh, he's really upset there. And I'm like, well, he doesn't look upset. Oh, and I can tell he's upset because he always, I don't know, touches his head and rubs his head or something crazy. I don't know, some kind of routine. Okay. Oh, he's really fired up. Then I'm like, is he really fired up? Oh, yeah, he's really fired up because I can tell that he's slapping his knee or whatever. They will see stuff that we can't see. And I think that's absolutely massive for us. And again, it just builds that trust between us. And I think we really have to look at doing more sort of parent teacher conferences or coaches. I put teacher in there because depending on where you are in the world, you may be a coach or an instructor or a teacher, but we are teaching the game of tennis. And I think that the more meetings we have with these parents, the better. And I think once a week would be too much. And I think we definitely always have to have a schedule in meetings. So I tend to do a half-time review. So after 6 weeks, I will sort of maybe sort of have a conversation with a parent. Again, it depends on their level. If their performance and they're playing competitions will be every 6 weeks. If it's a recreational, once a week development player, we'll probably have not one-to-one meetings, but we'll have like a parents meeting, and we'll sort of set up, okay, this is what we're doing this term. This is these are the players who have done well. This is what we're going to do sort of, sorry, this is what we did last term. This is the successes we had. Here's a plan for sort of next term. And try and have as many of those parent coach conferences as possible, because I think they're really, really massive. Because you get then the opportunity to also talk about what you're coaching and why you're coaching it. So again, for me, if you watched, hopefully you watched last week webinar on the constraint-led approach, like parents will look at that and think, what the hell is going on? Where's the coaching? I'm not hearing turn, split step, low to high. I'm not hearing technical language, because I jargon there, but it is jargon. I'm not hearing technical language, and I'm watching the other coaches and they're all technical, and here's Steve doing this weird game. What's going on? Well, if I go into my parents' meeting and I tell them, okay, this is the constraint-led approach. These are the benefits. This is what's going to look like. And sort of this is how I'm going to deliver it. They're like, oh, you know what? That makes sense. Oh, skill before technique. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, an 8-year-old doesn't listen very well, so they learn more kinesthetically. And okay, that makes sense. Bang, I've got them then. They're on board. Whereas if I would just go on and do my constraint-led approach, half the parents go, what the hell's going on? I'm going to go across to the older Steve. I keep using Steve, the other coach Steve, because he's so technical and he's so precise. He must be a fountain of knowledge when he's absolutely not. He's just spouting technical stuff to make him sound really good because he doesn't know how to coach. So those type of meetings are absolutely key, and you can set your expectations of the parents in those meetings as well. We want you to go to tournaments. We want you to play at this amount of time a week. We want you to do strength and conditioning training, and then you can give them the reason and the research as well. Again, I try and do a parent meeting, a parent teacher conference once a term, normally sort of at the end of term, because we then can celebrate success, talk about what we've been working on and what the next term is going to look like in any areas of improvement that we need to make to sort of the program. I need to drink more water in these webinars because I'm recording them. No one's talking to me, so I'm just talking, and my mouth gets really dry. So I do apologize for slight gaps. So this is an interesting one. So we looked at building trust in just simple ways of communicating and parent coaches, conferences and stuff. But what about actually getting the parents involved in the program? Like, why don't we do more of that? Why is it always just down to coaches? I think, to me, next one here, involving the parents in the program can take many forms. Like, if you're working at a traditional tennis club, get them to volunteer for club events, get them to help out with club night, get them to help out in club events, club tournaments. They may be sitting on the club committee. My most successful club that I've ever worked at, and I'm talking traditional club now, so I'm not talking like a commercial center or a private tennis center or LTA center or tennis federation center. I'm talking your normal local village or local town club. Was when I was really invested with the parents, and we had a group of maybe 6 or 8 parents, and they helped run my program. They helped me run my club night. They helped me with my club tournaments. We even did club trips, which they organized, and they were so vital. We had this nice core family, and it really, really built a great sense of community within the program. And it it was just massive. And like I look back and I kind of missed that. And I think for me, because we were all so close, we had that trust between us, and we sort of really stayed together for quite a long time. And funny enough, I was the one who was to leave the club and sort of went off to a different club. So talk about trust, but that was more of a professional decision. But just getting them involved, like if they're really keen to spend time on court with their kids, get them to do coach qualifications, get them to become. I know here in the UK we have like a tennis leader, which is like a voluntary qualification or voluntary award. They can do that, and then you give them a little bit of training in club of how to help out at the club and how to help out at sessions. You could do a level 1 or level 2, depending again where you are in the world. Get them to do entry-level coaching qualifications, because that's going to give them some knowledge and some confidence. It's also going to give them a basis of actually how to coach. So when they're coaching the players, they'll have a better understanding of communication and demonstrations and a little bit more tactical and technical knowledge that they probably previously wouldn't have. And that's absolutely massive, because they'll spend time on court with you, coaching other players and other kids, and they'll hear how you coach and they'll hear how you communicate and the words that you use. And I'm a big fan of getting the parents on court of my lessons, especially private lessons. Come and sit down at the side. Now it's important, because coaches get really freaked out by it and go, "Oh no, I don't want Steve on court. He's nuts." But it's important that you set the ground rules and say, "Listen, I really want you on court today. I really want you on court during lessons, just because I want you to hear what we're saying and what we're working on. But it's really important that you respect my space, and this is my space. This is my court. If I speak to you and ask you a question, I want you to sort of feedback, but I don't want you to start shouting stuff out or you getting involved in the discussions with me and the player. So in the nicest possible way, only speak when spoken to." And parents will understand that. And guess what? If you don't respect that, then sorry, you're off the court. You're out of here. See you later. And the benefit of having the parent on the court is they can hear what I'm working on, but they can hear how I communicate. And again, me personally, I'm so positive. I'll tell you what you can do more than tell you what you can't do. And I'll hide the stuff that you can't do, and I'll word it where you make that realization as well. And I will then educate the parents on that as well. Okay, this is how we look at it from a sports psychologist point of view. We don't want to tell you that you're rubbish at something like the backhand before. We might want to bring awareness to it, but get the player to bring awareness to it first, and then offer them or then offer them solutions, or they come up with solutions themselves. But there's a way of doing it. There's a way of giving feedback without making it sound really negative. And it's an art of coaching. And parents aren't coaches. Parents are sort of very straight down a line. This is black and white. It's sort of black and white. This is good. This is not so good. And like I said before, parents think coaches are there just to fix mistakes, and we're not. And I think once parents fully understand what our role is as coaches, then that's massive. And you can overcome that obstacle and that barrier straight away, just by getting them on court, getting them involved in group sessions or club night, or getting them involved in sort of private lessons and stuff. Because they'll start to understand what coaching is really about and what tennis is about. And that could only be a benefit to the player, because then if that parent takes the player off in between sessions and sort of plays, they can just replicate what you're doing. And then the players getting like more court time, and they're working on the same things, rather than the parent being on the balcony and then they'll see something go wrong, and then they'll bring little Steve down the club the next day and they're just drilling him on the backhand because they've seen a couple of missed backhands in the session, despite that they got more backhands, and the parents will only ever see the negative. And then it becomes a shout on match. And I see it all the time, unfortunately, where parents are coaching their kids and the parents are getting really frustrated because the kid's making a few mistakes. But guess what? In tennis, you make loads of mistakes. You miss all the time. But parents will see 2 or 3 mistakes, and they don't understand how players learn. Like when you first learn a skill, you make unbelievable amount of mistakes. But parents don't see that. Parents will see 2 or 3 times, and they'll just start hammering the player. But if you educate them in terms of, okay, this is what happens when you learn a skill. It's messy, it takes time, but these are the positives to look for to develop that skill quicker. This is what you can do. And to me, that's just massive. It's absolutely huge. So get the players more involved in the program. Again, sorry, as always on these, I'm just sort of going off on a tangent and sort of jumping ahead of myself. But encourage them to participate. Just get them involved. But we've got to make sure that we involve the parents in the decision making as well. So a lot of the time, like coaches will say, okay, you're going to play in these tournaments. These are the tournaments that I want you to play in. And the parents are like, oh, well, can't play that one because we're going home and that one's quite far away. And oh, we got a family thing on that one. What I tend to do with my parents is we sit down, I'll list all the tournaments, say, okay, which ones can you do? And they'll highlight which ones, and I'll say, okay, that one's not that important. That one's quite important. Keep that one. So I involved them in the decision making. I also involved them in the decision making in terms of number of sessions and other stuff as well. Like the parents are always involved with me, like how to make the what tournaments do, how many hours this week we're going to do, what's our training block going to be. I just give them a sense of ownership. And like we said before, I really encourage feedback as well in terms of, okay, what have you noticed over the last couple of weeks with the players? Is there anything that we can really improve? I don't have to listen to it. I don't have to act upon it. I will filter out a lot of the stuff. But there might be some stuff in there, but at least I'm listening to the parent, and I'm bringing them in on the decision making as well. And it just gives them sort of a sense of value. Like they're not just handing money over to you every single week. They're like, oh, you know what? I'm really involved in it. I feel part of the team. And like we talked about before, that triangle of trust. Yeah. And that's what you are. You're a team. So get them involved in decision making. And it might be a case of, okay, my example there was mainly based on like a performance player, but it might be a case of, okay, we're looking at doing a 12-week term rather than a 6-week term, and just put a survey out, yes or no. We're thinking about extending this session to 90 minutes. What's your thoughts? What's your feedback? We're thinking about adding a extra session on for these players each week. What are your thoughts? And you get feedback. One, that's good marketing for starters, as a business point of view. But two, the parents have a sense of being involved. It gives them a sense of ownership, and it's smart business, because if you involve them in the decision making aspect, then they'll feel value, and then again that builds a trust, which we're talking about quite a lot today. But you have to understand that these parents are highly skilled, and they've got a lifetime of experience. And I've been fortunate enough, like some parents I've worked with are football coaches, or they are sports psychologists or physios. And I'm like, okay, they've got a wealth of expertise. They can really help me here. So I go to the football coach and get some ideas of how can I really utilize squad coaching. I might go to one of the parents who's a PT and say, okay, can you advise on how to improve our strength and conditioning sessions, or can you even run our strength and conditioning sessions? And could you run it for free if we give a bit of discount on membership or coaching rates? So don't be scared of these parents. Actually, one of the first things I do now is I say to parents, oh, if you don't mind me asking, what you do for a living? Oh, I'm a printer. Oh, are you really? So I'm not okay. Log in now, and then when I want printing done, okay, can you do us a favor? Could you do some printing for me? Normally get discount as well. So take an interest in the parents, like really, really take an interest. Because I think sometimes I've mentioned a few times today, like we get scared of him, but take an interest. Like if you think about it, when you meet someone new and they really ask, okay, what do you do? Oh, that's really interesting. They ask you more and more questions. You think, oh, no, I really like this person because they're taking time, taking interest in me. How often, again, I'm sort of guilty of this. A new player turns up and you just get them on court and go, oh, thanks, mum. See you later. See you in an hour. And you never have a conversation with mum or dad, and like you never get that trust, and you have no idea what they do. you're just missing an opportunity. You're missing an opportunity, and it's something that I always encourage my coaches to do. Like if you're walking through the club and you see one of the parents, just say hello. Just say hello and how's your day going? Just spend 10, 15 seconds just taking an interest in someone's day. And you might be rushing off to a lesson, but the parent's going to go, oh, you know what? He took time to say hello there. And I see it a lot with coaches, and I've been guilty of it myself, where, okay, I'm in a rush, my head's down. I see a parent, oh, I can't bother engaging there. I need to get on the court. But even if you can't engage, oh, hi, Steve, how's it going? I know I'm in a mad rush, but I hope you're well. Good to see you. You go, oh, yeah, no, what? He at least took 10 seconds there. And you're just involving him. You just engage him with parents, rather than sort of the handover, what I call it, where the player gets dropped off. You go, thanks, and then at the end of the session, you then hand over the player. Go, okay, see you next week. There's just no relationship building there. And I get it. There's time restraints against us and our lessons back on, back on. Just take 10, 15 seconds. Okay, so we looked a lot now at support, involving parents and building trust. We're going to look at how we can support parents, and to me, this is probably one of the most important ones, because if players come to you under 8, under 9 even, they probably won't have a lot of tennis experience as parents. Very rare that you have parents. Some parents might be ex-players, some parents might be sort of members of the club. But a lot of parents will just sort of come to you from school links, or just because they live locally, or you're the local leisure centre. So we've got to make sure that we support these parents. Our job is not just to support the player. And again, a lot of coaches get this wrong, and we think that it's all about the player. It's all about the player and me. It's not. It's that triangle of trust. It's the player, the parents, and you. So how can we better support parents? So quite a few things on there. I think providing resources. So give them copy of lesson plans, give them copy of term plans, give them as much information as possible. So last night, one of my players got some feedback from a tournament, and the parents didn't quite agree with the feedback, and it was from a national governing body, a national coach who sort of gave him feedback, and the parents weren't too happy with the feedback because they didn't agree with it. So what I sent them was, okay, this is what they're looking for. This is actually from the LTA performance team. This is what they're looking for the players to do. And it was the opposite to what the player was doing in the tournament. And the parents, oh, okay, that makes more sense now. And just by giving them that one slide from a presentation, of what the player should be doing at that age stage, the parents like, oh, you know what? Yeah, we get it. We get it now. Thanks so much. And it was just massive. Again, if parents know what the player's working on, and then you maybe say, okay, what I've done for you is I've written out the games. So if you do take Steve down the court this week, just play these games with him. Just play these games, and what I've done is I've highlighted a couple of words or phrases that if you could repeat for me, that'd be amazing. That'd be so good. So I'm providing them with the tools. We might provide them stuff like competition meetings. Like I mentioned before, I'll sit down with my players and say, okay, these are the competitions. Okay, these are how you enter competitions. It may be provide parents with, we said before, report cards, giving them feedback. Those things are massive because, again, you're just providing value. You're just providing parents with resources, and it just shows, one, you're professional. You're super professional. But 2, you're taking time off the court to actually invest in these players. Again, coaches don't do it. Again, I don't know about the other parts of the world, but here in the UK, it's very rare that I'll see coaches give out resources to parents. Like, it's all about just doing lesson after lesson after lesson. It just doesn't work. Referrals go both ways. So again, if you're really good at your job and there's a lot of trust and confidence in you as a coach, when parents speak to other parents and they're saying, oh, we're looking for a new coach, or my kid's just getting into tennis, the parent's going to refer to you straight away. that's the best form of marketing, because there's already a degree of trust there, because it's a recommendation from someone that they know. But I make referrals to parents as well. Okay, this is my physio, go and see them. They're the best strength and conditioning coach around. If you can't get to me once a week, this is a coach I recommend who's closer to you. And again, it just shows that it's not all about you as well, and you're looking after the best interest of the player. I think sometimes as coaches we get so bogged down. I'll do the strength and conditioning. I'll do all the tennis sessions. I'll look after the whole program. You can't do that for everyone, and I think referrals go sort of both way. And then guidance on player development, child development. Like, parents won't know the stages of learning. Parents won't know that the different learning types. Parents might not know kinesthetic learning. And so that's why I put on their child development, because I think sometimes we give them lots of tennis information. Let's give them some child development information as well, because unless they work in a school or a nursery and they're involved in child development like we are as coaches, they won't have a clue about learning styles. They won't have a clue why an 8-year-old Steve can't do a topspin backhand. They won't know because the physicality, and they're not skilled enough yet. They won't understand that players can't perform certain tasks. Like, there's a reason why 8-year-old can't use their legs. They've got no muscles. So there's no point the parent working on this absolutely leg drive or knee bend. So parents don't know any of this stuff. We're lucky as coaches and professionals that we get lots of training on this stuff. So it's about sharing that child development stuff as well. It's not just the tennis stuff. It's not just providing them information with tennis. It's child development in terms of, okay, this is what an 8-year-old's capable of. This is why your child is sort of struggling to listen, because they're not a verbal learner, they're a kinesthetic learner. So, and guess what? When they go home and do their homework, like, the parent then has tools that you've given them. And it's so powerful. So it's essential part of the partnership that we support them. And we talk about parent education here. So I try and again have at least one parent group meeting every term, and we put it on different topics. Play development under 10, competition, why is it important, how to enter competitions, the importance of strength and conditioning. So we provide these parent education sort of things, and even things like how to act and deal at tournaments, how to communicate with a tennis player, not your child. And I think sometimes there's definitely has to be a difference there between your child and a tennis player, because you communicate in two completely different ways. So we just need to equip them with tools, because that's only going to help us. It's only going to help us because the parents and player or child relationship is going to be stronger, because the parent is backing up everything that you're saying, and then you're seen as a team. You're really seen as a team. And if the parents are educated, the child's going to buy into it more. And I can remember a case where the dad was working on a backhand with my player between sessions, and the player came to me the next session and said, oh, I had a really bad experience with dad. Dad was teaching me a backhand, but he got really frustrated, and dad didn't know what he was talking about. I said, okay, let's just hold it there. So dad was on the court, but this was the far end when we're getting balls in. So we walked across to dad, and I said, okay, dad, I believe you did some backhand work, didn't you? And dad got quite nervous at this point and was like, oh yeah, we were working on sort of using the left hand and sort of get low to high and stuff. I was just trying to help. So, oh, wow, you know what, that's amazing. I know what I said, and I said to the player, you should be really proud of dad, because dad's really taking time to invest in your tennis. That's amazing. And you know what, dad's quite wise there, because he's working on some good stuff. I said, yeah, dad's not a coach, but he doesn't have to be a coach. Doesn't have to be a coach. And you know what? I wish my dad was on court more with me when sort of I was your age, because like when you get older, you hardly spend time with your parents because you're always busy working and stuff. So that's amazing. Like that's so good. And you could see the player was like taken aback, because they're like, wow, okay, first of all, I didn't think my dad knew anything. And second of all, dad's not my coach. What do they know about tennis? And all of a sudden Steve's telling me that my dad's amazing and my dad's knows a bit about tennis. Okay, maybe I should listen to him a little bit more then. And that's so powerful, and that's much better than than me going, oh, don't listen to dad. Dad's got no clue. What does dad know about tennis? Have you seen his backhand? So then the player just loses all trust in the parent's tennis ability. So anytime the dad gives any feedback, the player's going, oh, Steve doesn't think that that you know anything, so I'm not listening to you. So just flipping it round, and the dad might spat off loads of rubbish. And again, you use your filter. You use your filter and go, you know what? Yeah, it's great that dad's invested and sort of dad's helping. And then you may sort of say to dad, okay, maybe next time look at this. But thank you so much. And then thank them for taking time out to go and practice. Don't see it as this negative thing that okay, I'm the coach, I do the tennis, and you just pay me the bills. See it as a positive, and that all comes down to the parent education. This is possibly a tough one here. Support families who may be getting challenges. So it's a scary world we live in. Like, money's tight. So at the time of recording, we're going through a global sort of money crisis. Everything's going up in price. As tennis is a luxury. Yeah, food, heating, keeping a house, a roof over your head's really more important than tennis lessons. So we may have to sort of give some financial support to parents. And again, I'm not going to go too personally here, but I've offered support for parents in the past. Like, can't pay today, just pay me when you can. Pay me at the end of the month. Oh, you can't pay in one go. Let's set a payment plan. Okay, you want to do 2-3 lessons a week? Can't afford it. You know what? I'm gonna invest in your son or daughter now. I'm gonna invest by giving you lessons at this rate because I think they're gonna be quite good. Or you know what? I love working with little Steve. Yeah, he might not be the greatest player in the world, but we have so much fun. Yeah, let's help you out a little bit. Because we have to think about players as people. That's what they are. Like, it really bugs me. And there's a group on Facebook, and they're just so negative about these parents. Like, parents asking for help or asking could a session run at this time because they can't make it, and the coaches just blasting the parents and publicizing it all over Facebook. I'm like, well, you have no idea what these people are going through. Like, these are people you only see them from a tennis and a business sense of view. See them as people. And again, just little things like that. Little things like that. Like, again, in the past, a player has come with this really bad racket, and I know for the fact the parents can't afford them a racket. So I got them a racket. Like, it doesn't cost me anything because I'll probably get it cheaper or get it for free from my supplier anyway. So I gave him a brand new racket, and I've given away lots of rackets over the years because I look at some of the stuff the players are working with, and I'll say to mum and dad, oh, can you please get them a new racket? And you can see the fear in their face, like, oh, I can't afford a new racket. All right, then fine. Need a new pair of shoes, fine. Like, it's just, it goes a long way. Now, you can't do that for everyone, and you've obviously got to be keep your wits about you, because you don't want to be that find someone sort of not conning you, but like taking advantage of your good nature. So you do have to use your spider senses a little bit to say, okay, is this really an issue? And then, yeah, just help them, because that just really, really, really goes a long way. So, quite an important topic as always, this one, and hopefully you found it useful. And just a couple of things in conclusion, really. Just work with the parents. Stop being scared of them. They're not that scary. Some are scary, but guess what? The ones who are the most scariest, once you get them on side, they will absolutely love you. And again, I can think of one parent who was super scary, and everyone was scared of her. Everyone at the tennis club was scared of her. All the coaches are scared of her. They jumped around from coach to coach because this parent was, she had a reputation of being absolutely a monster. Okay. And I knew this going in. And the first thing I did was I sort of got to know her really well. Like I said before, I got to know about what she does, got to know about her family, where she comes from, her background. And it was interesting because she was never got involved in my lessons. She never sort of badmouthed me, or she never exploded when sort of around me like she did with other coaches. And I think part of it was, pardon me, was I just took time to invest in her, and sort of got to know her, and sort of got to know her motivations. And all she wanted for her child was the best. She just wanted her child to have the best and sort of be the best. And I took a lot of time educating her in terms of, okay, this is what they need to do, this is what they can do, this is what they can't do at the moment, but it's going to happen later on. And I just spent a lot of time building that relationship, and she was amazing. She used to bring me cakes, and at Christmas I'd get so many presents. And I can remember one of the coaches saying to me, like, how did you turn that around? Because I didn't turn that around. I just started off on the right foot. I just built that relationship with this parent, and we're good friends, and we still talk today, even though I don't have contact. I don't coach the player no more. I'll still get pictures and videos of the player playing in events, and the parent wasn't that scary. I just understood what the parent wanted. It goes back to that trust. You have to build trust. Trust is only built via communication. It really, really is. You can't have a successful program if you don't engage with the parents. Like we said at the very start of this webinar, the parents are the purse holders. They're the investors. They're the bank. The bank doesn't trust you, you don't get a loan. And you've got to get the parents on board. And like we said before, show them resources, work together, create a supportive environment, and make sure that you make it look like you are taking the best interest in them, and sort of, and the best interest of their child. And that's it. That's it. That's the end of our presentation or webinar for week 3. I really hope you found it enjoyable. Again, sorry for my croaky voice, all that talking I've done this week. So I do apologize for a bit croaky today. So croaky again. In terms of the program, if you are on the mentoring package, you get mentoring sessions, please get in touch with me and book your mentoring in. You can either do it via email, or you can do it via the website or app, and you just go to the mentoring section and you can book it in that way. But until next week, I really hope you're enjoying this course. Take it easy, and I will see you next week.